Hi, I'm Justin.
Also, I hate the way my voice sounds, so if you can do whatever Photoshop does to voices, make me sound awesome.
And this is my lovely friend,
The beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and it's just about getting into the seat of being the beholder.
Hayley.
I don't think you have to be particularly perceptive. I just think you have to look up.
This podcast is mostly just her telling me stories.
If you expose yourself to the possibility that this might be really awkward, there can be something just really cool on the other side of it.
She thinks that her life and way of looking at things are
Oh, I was kind of waiting on you. I thought you were getting your stuff ready. You're waiting on me?
pretty normal.
You got to edit out all the misinformation about the Amish.
Maybe you can relate.
I would like a chance to re-sing the Amish Paradise.
If you want lighthearted stories
All right, you want to talk about goats?
and stream of consciousness,
I just woke up and needed some friends, and so I bought them.
then you're going to like the Sunny Side Up podcast.
Sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up.
So, if you're at all like me, you may feel that you're living in a world that can be a bit overwhelming and confusing at times. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts, documentaries, docudramas, stories, and of just information in general. Between all of that and the social media and news, sometimes our brains can feel like they're on overload. Hayley and I hope that this podcast can be something of an antidote to all of that. Like little jello shots of joy and distraction. None of it is too serious or really too informative. Mostly it's just two friends who have conversational chemistry talking about whatever enters the minds of relatively ADHD people. We hope you enjoy.
Because my dad was a conspiracy theorist before it was like a cool thing.
He was
put
into it
tin
before
foil-
Q came around.
Yeah.
Love that.
But he fancied himself a private investigator, and we thought that was just the drugs talking because he didn't really seem to do anything. But he sobered up just a little bit right before he passed away, so I got to ask him questions like, where were you my entire childhood? But not in a mean way, but in a what was up?
Well, yeah.
And he starts telling me the story, and there was just enough detail to it that I think it might have been true. So this is not a whimsical story, but I'm not going to be crying about it. Like, I'm not sad about it.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to tell that kind of story?
I'm in. So far, everything you've said is
Okay.
amazing.
All right. So we'll chat about it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you have to hit record?
No.
All of this has already been being recorded.
You don't understand.
You're going to have to listen to so much dead footage.
I know,
I'm so sorry.
No, this is both the editing nightmare and the delight of this project.
You can relive the good days over and over and over again. Oh, can I pause and tell you something fantastic?
Yeah,
I was listening to this podcast on the way here last night because I was getting so tired.
Yeah.
There's they go through Apple News and they have an expert on the topic of that Apple News story that kind of breaks it down.
Okay.
So it's just an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Also, the girl sounds like what I think I sound like. Like her voice sounded similar
like that
to me.
Southern Belle.
Well, the tone of her voice. And you just don't often hear yourself, but occasionally you do. And I was like, I think that's what I sound like. So that was kind of interesting. She may not sound like me, but that's what I thought I might have sounded like on a voice recorder. But anyhow,
Yeah.
one of the stories was this guy's girlfriend or maybe it was his wife, had passed away, and he used her voice to create an AI chatbot, which is fascinating science to me. I am new to that, but it is amazing. And so he submits like just a little bit of maybe I think text messages and some things. It doesn't take a lot. There's a website that will do it, and you just have the input is so small, and then it responded in such a way. They were reading parts of the transcript, and dude, it sounds like he's talking to his wife from beyond.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, I remember when this thing came out. The part I couldn't remember is you just feed the voice in, or I think you have to also give it like information about the person so that it kind of knows its interests.
There was a paragraph, perhaps, that he had to kind of write out about her, and then he gave it samples of text messages so that it would see. I don't know that he submitted voice samples. His seemed to be mostly texting back and forth, right? But in his case, it honestly seemed like there was something mildly intelligent on the other side because some of those responses were so on point.
Well, and it's a service, isn't it? Like, so isn't it like a monthly service or a yearly plan? And it's basically like that thing where like when your loved one passes, you can spend, like a few months quote unquote talking to him or her. I think
I don't know if that was the intention of the service, but that's definitely what he did.
Okay.
And
I thought I remember there being
that might be what it was for. They tell in the podcast, they mentioned what the website was that he went to, and he just started entering. But it was just fascinating how on point some of those messages were, to the point that it does feel like there's something intelligent on the other side, and you're like, whoa, this is at least quasi-intelligent. But
so you want a prediction?
I want you to be a chat bot. I just want to see if I can have a conversation with you at my house that mimics this experience.
I love that. Yeah. Which is like when you say I want you to be a chatbot. At first, I was a little hurt by that because I was like, "What? I'm not good enough. Like you want the digital version of me? Is that so that you can make it stop?"
No, I want to know if intelligence is intelligent enough to mimic you.
I got it. I mean, it won't take much. It won't take much.
Oh my gosh! How do you get that essence in there?
Right. Yeah.
But
hold on.
I would also like your prediction.
Thank you. My prediction. Are you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So like right now, people are worried about like in the social, yes, I'm trying to think of like how to phrase this. People that are on different sides of the political spectrum are worried about what we're doing with our bodies. We're changing from male to female or some other assortment of genders that I am kind of unaware of, or like different types of sexuality, pansexual, whatever, all these different things. Okay, so that's like the big concern, big thought right now. In 30 years, my prediction is going to be that therapists and like people that study like social whatevers are going to be concerned about people forming deep attachments to AI that have basically they've programmed this device, and this device could be a lot more than just a voice at that point, right? It could be a pretty like humatronic looking thing, or maybe not. It could be an alien looking thing. It could be any kind of looking thing, and yet it has a personality. And I think people will fall deeply in love. Remember Her, the movie Her? Did you ever watch that?
I never saw that.
Okay, I vaguely remember Her having some sort of a storyline like this, but I think that's going to happen in the next 30 years. There's going to be people, and then they'll have to debate, like, is this healthy for people to be, like, falling in love and, quote-unquote, marrying, like, an AI whatever? And, yeah, so anyways, that's going to be, like, a future
never
problem.
mind falling in love with same sex.
Yeah.
Now, are we okay with falling in love with things that aren't even human?
Right.
So interesting, because I knew someone who was on the spectrum or suspected to be on the spectrum whenever they were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, it wasn't as widely diagnosed or diagnosable as it is now.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we noticed was she wasn't comfortable with the back and forth communication with other people, but she was comfortable in situations where a more unilateral approach to a conversation. So she could say something and not have to react organically to what was being said. So she did a lot of imaginary friend things because she wanted things around her to talk and interact with, but she was too stressed out to manage the input on the playgrounds. And she would play with the kids who were quiet or nonverbal or whatever, just because it was easier for her.
I like that.
And then they had a playmate, so it was a great balance for a while. The AI situation would be a social outlet for those who are not quite as comfortable with the actual social connections. So is that a healthy alternative, or is it a hindering alternative?
And that's the question for the ages. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, someone else will have to figure. Someone way smarter than us has to figure that out. Yeah.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
We'll know in a couple generations. We'll know in a couple generations after 30 years.
Right. Yeah. You don't know anything when you're in the middle of it. Yeah.
When your prediction has time to come to fruition, we will start monitoring the fallout.
Yeah. Seems fair. Hello, lovely friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world if you would tell other people about this podcast and maybe even spam your social media accounts with just how much you're enjoying it. If you are, of course. Also, commenting and rating us on whatever platform you're downloading or streaming from is incredibly helpful to a little startup podcast like this one. On the other hand, if you are dissatisfied with your listening experience, please leave all of that hate on someone else's podcast. Just maybe to confuse them a little bit, right? But most of all, we hope you keep looking up and looking for the sunny side of life.